Breaking news. The Super Bowl culture war just went nuclear. Less than a week out from the big game between the Seahawks and Patriots, the MAGA boycott has morphed into a rival event that is shaking up the entertainment world. Following Bad Bunny's explosive ice out speech at the Grammys last night, where he slammed immigration policies, Turning Point USA has officially announced their All-American halftime show. We now have the confirmed lineup. Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett are all set to perform in direct competition with the NFL. But the story just got significantly bigger. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has issued a stunning statement suggesting the Department of Defense should play an official role in this alternative broadcast. This is unprecedented, the U.S. military potentially aligning with a counter-programming event. Meanwhile, Bad Bunny's speech is trending worldwide, racking up hundreds of millions of views and completely dominating the digital conversation. The internet is divided. Will you tune into the NFL or the All-American alternative? Let me know in the comments. Spread the word and follow along for more updates soon.
So the Trump fans are still saying they're going to boycott the Super Bowl, and now Turning Point USA has just announced their lineup for a Super Bowl halftime show. And if you're expecting it to be pathetic, you'd be absolutely right. They said the lineup for the All-American halftime show is here. Watch Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett this Sunday. I'm not trying to be rude here when I say this. I'm not trying to be like that. I have no idea who any of these people are except Kid Rock. I thought they were made up names. I mean, seriously, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, these cannot be real people. And they're excited about this halftime show? What are they doing? So look, if the MAGA fans want to subject themselves to whatever the hell that is, I implore them to do that. That's great. Go have fun. The normal people will be watching the Super Bowl, will be watching Bad Bunny and Green Day, and all of the great artists perform while they do that.
As we all know by now, Bad Bunny called out ICE agents yesterday at the Grammys. He said a whole speech pretty much not happy with ICE and that he wants ICE out and that everybody's equal and that we're not different, we're not animals, we're all humans, and that we're all Americans. And you guys remember that the MAGA wanted to do a boycott with the Super Bowl? Well, the Super Bowl is already around the corner, and that boycott has just gotten even bigger and stronger after last night. And remember, Turning Point USA is going to have an alternative halftime show while Bad Bunny is doing his at the Super Bowl. You're going to have Brantley Gilbert, Kid Rock. Then they're also going to have Lee Brice. And last but not least, they're going to be having Gabby. That's the headline for the alternative halftime show. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think he's going to be able to compete with Bad Bunny. And let's not forget that the speech that Bad Bunny gave right now, hundreds of millions of views have received. And a lot of people are looking at it at a positive way. But I'm very curious to know what are your thoughts about all this down below in the comments. And like always, don't forget to follow for more viral news. Ciao, pesca. Also, let me know, are you watching the Bad Bunny halftime show or the Turning Point USA trending halftime show? Let me know down below.
MAGA is, I think people are realizing it was all a lie. It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really serving is, in this administration, who they're serving is their big donors. The big donors that donated all the money and continue to donate to the president's PACs and donate to the 250th anniversary and are donating to the big ballroom. And if they're donating to all these things, those are the people that get the special favors, they get the government contracts, they get the pardons, or somebody they love or one of their friends gets a pardon. And it's the foreign countries that are running the show here. It's the major big corporations and what is best for the world. That's really what MAGA is. That's the results. That's what we're seeing after one full year of MAGA. It's kind of like the Scooby-Doo meme where, you know, they pull the mask off of the bad guy. Well, the mask is being pulled off, and Make America Great Again isn't really about America or the American people. It's not about the American people.
In an epic MAGA tantrum, they are boycotting the halftime show at the Super Bowl and putting on their own. That's right. Turning Point USA is sponsoring an alternative halftime show with, you guessed it, headliner Kid Rock. So to be clear, they got their feelings so hurt with what Bad Bunny said at the Grammys that they are boycotting his performance at the Super Bowl because, of course, he was speaking out against ICE, and most of the attendees at the Grammys were also wearing their pins to say ICE out because many people in this country want ICE out, and this administration cannot handle it. Bad Bunny's speech has been viewed hundreds of millions of times, which just goes to show that people in this country are done. We are done with the bullshit of this administration and what ICE is doing and what ICE has done. So I, for one, will be proudly supporting the official halftime show at the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny.
Hello and good evening. Listen, in today's episode of As the White Hood Turns, this is going to be my last time talking about this. I promise you. But I came across this and I could not contain myself. So I'm going to share it with you. Okay, so we know that there's going to be an alternative MAGA fest, whatever, for the Super Bowl, right? I done told y'all about this. Anyway, they've now released the lineup. So it's Kid Rock, Lee Greenwood, Dierks Brantley. Damn, I forgot the other people. Anywho, that's not what I came here to talk about. You know what I came to talk about? Why is MAGA mad at the lineup? The way I have been cackling for the last 20 minutes. So apparently, even MAGA is mad about the people that they have for this Turning Point USA Super Bowl halftime show. Now, mind you, they did a breakdown, and I think his name is the Dierks Brantley fella. He's got like 4.2 million streams. The other people, I'm sorry, I can't remember their names, but Bad Bunny has over 82 billion streams. He has 48 million followers on Instagram, 25 plus million followers on TikTok, and even MAGA is upset at the fact that their lineup sucks. But when I tell you, I love every minute of this. Okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm not talking about AmFest, MAGAFest no more. That's it. I'm done. Anyway, I'm about to go find my little straw hat. Next time y'all see me, I'm going to have on a hat. I'll be ready. Hello. And y'all know he just won. I'm sorry. Y'all know Bad Bunny just won Album of the Year. Right? Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm done. All right. Okay, bye.
Well. And welcome to another day in the United States of hell, where it's clear to see that an elite pedo cabal is running our country. Right into the motherfucking ground, baby. And redefining what evidence might be. Yes, indeed, we must talk about this guy who's very odd today. I do believe his name is Todd, and he works for the DOJ. Todd Hair-Lipped Blanche, baby. I thought he was a lawyer, but apparently only in a kangaroo court, you see, because he stood up there on TV yesterday and tried to convince you and me that there's no evidence at play, that no one will be arrested in a future day, even though those files have been put on display. He was asked directly yesterday if there were any future prosecutions coming our way for all the men that were mentioned in the files. You know, the friends of Jeffrey and the orange one too. And he said with his full fucking throat, no. He's trying to claim that there is no evidence in there. He's redefining what evidence is today. I thought he was a lawyer, but apparently only in a kangaroo courtroom. Because I do believe that testimony, videos, and photographs are evidence. But according to Todd, he says that's not evidence, dear. That's fucking odd. Where did he get his law degree? Because, baby, that is the exact definition of evidence. Photographs, videos, emails, testimonies. That's evidence. Now, unfortunately for us here in the US of A, it looks like those pedos are going to get away with their crimes today. But I got news for Todd. If it's not evidence, dear, then why all of this across the pond over there? Yes, if those videos and emails and testimonies aren't evidence, then why is Sarah Ferguson shutting down her charity foundations after all of that evidence was released? And if it's not evidence today, then why is the UK politician Peter Mendelsohn quitting the House of Lords? Yeah, it's because, Mr. Blanchard, that's evidence, dear. There's even a guy who was recently hired at CBS who has been pushed away from his job today because of the evidence in those files that's been put on display. But here in the US of A, dear, at the DOJ, Satan, Cindy Lou Who, Pam Blondie, and the Todd dude, well, they're trying to protect the pedo-in-chief, so they can't bring charges against anybody in those files today. They'd have to bring charges to the old man, too. Redefining what evidence is. If it's not evidence, then why was it collected to be used inside of a courtroom as evidence? Boy, I'm sure the Red Hat crew will believe this and eat this shit up too, that there's no evidence in the files, boo. What the actual fuck, baby? What the actual fuck are you talking about today, Todd? Jesus fucking Christ. Don't believe what you see with your eyes today, and don't believe what you hear with your ears today. Just bend the fucking knee to an authoritarian regime and let the pedos fucking continue to play. Shit. Right? That's what they want us to do today. But I got news for all of you that want me to bend the knee and worship the orange fucking fool. It's a big old fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. No, he's a fucking pedophile and a criminal, boo.
All right, y'all, I'm here for a good conspiracy theory as much as the next person, especially if it's rooted in truth. But this whole thing with the Clintons is getting way out of control. And I mean, the tall tales from MAGA, they're amusing. But anyway, so if you want to understand what's happening behind the scenes, like why the Clintons are kind of pushing back, what Congress is asking for, and why all of this is happening in the first place, then pour yourself some coffee and come on back. We all know that, right? It's like the Clintons have been subpoenaed and this whole contempt of Congress is looming because they're not playing ball the way that Congress wants them to. Okay. And I think a lot of people think like, oh, this is going to be some big, Epstein bombshell being dropped. But that's not what's happening, okay? This is not a criminal trial. This is a process fight inside of Congress. Let's kind of go through what is actually happening. The House Oversight Committee, which is currently chaired by James Comer, who is a Republican from Kentucky. So let me just deal with that right now. Okay, guys, we can't just assume that just because the person is a Republican that the other person is innocent. I mean, that's crazy because then we're no better than MAGA, all right? But is there a partisan agenda here? Yeah, okay, I'm sure there is, all right? But anyways, moving on. We'll just leave it there, okay? It's a Republican-led committee setting the tone and deciding how intense this investigation becomes. On paper, their job is oversight, not prosecution. What they say that they're doing is they're looking at how the federal government handled, I'm just gonna call him JE, including failures by the DOJ, the Bureau of Prisons, whether reforms are needed. To which I think we don't need an investigation because obviously the answer is yes. But anyway. So that's the official framing from Congress. Now, what did the committee demand? The committee issued formal subpoenas to both Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, his wife, who I will remind you are both currently private citizens. Okay, so this was a subpoena. It wasn't like a request for like a casual chitty chat over coffee. They are ordered to appear for in-person depositions, under oath, closed door, with committee-controlled questioning, no limits on time, topics, or follow-up. This is the most aggressive form of congressional testimony, short of like a televised hearing. And if you've ever had the great pleasure of sitting through a deposition, you know that they're not usually friendly conversations. They're designed to create inconsistencies, not clarity. So what did the Clintons offer instead? Clintons didn't say we won't cooperate. They offered alternatives. They said, we'll give you written responses, voluntary interviews, and limited or conditioned testimony. But from the committee's perspective, the congressional committee, they're like, no, that's not acceptable. But from any competent lawyer's perspective, that's just self-protection. And that difference is not innocence or guilt in entire conflict. That's what you're seeing play out in the public sphere. Now on to the question that everybody's asking. Why are the Clintons limiting exposure? And this is the part that people really, really need to understand. And y'all feel free to share this with especially the MAGA crowd who's like, frothing at the mouth, like, oh, we're about to give them Clintons. Look, if they're in those files, get them, okay? But I'm just explaining what's happening. Let me remind you again, they're private citizens. They have no immunity, unlike the sitting president. And anything said under oath can be referred to the DOJ, can be used for civil lawsuits, can be leaked selectively. And of course, and most importantly, it can be weaponized politically. Guys, we're like on the runway to the midterm. So think about basically what that committee is trying to do. And so all of that can happen even if no crime exists. These congressional depositions, I mean, guys, they're designed to produce these kind of sound bites, right? Which can, of course, be taken out of context. They go on for hours. They revisit old memories. They ask very hypothetical and speculative questions. And one awkward sentence, hesitation, reply becomes a headline that runs on Fox 24 hours a day. No, guys, that's not paranoia. That's just how the system works. And then that's before we discuss the fact that the whole Epstein thing is literally radioactive. And association alone creates speculation. And I'm just going to sidebar this real quick, okay, for any MAGA person that's watching this, all right? Look, I don't give two dicks if Clinton is involved, all right? I do not care at all about your political affiliation. If you are in any way associated with anything to do with this entire thing that's like dominating the public sphere right now, you can straight rot in hell, all right? I don't have any political loyalty to anyone who would do such things to children. So let me just put that to rest right now. The point is that even neutral answers can sound incriminating once they're clipped and reframed. And then, I mean, y'all have met Fox News, right? Okay, just checking. And for the Clintons, limiting format means limiting damage. I mean, you have to consider who they're dealing with, guys. We've been dealing with these people for a decade. They're not exactly on the up and up. I'm talking about the GOP, just for clarification. And again, it bears repeating that this is a Republican-led committee confronting two prominent Democrats. And that doesn't automatically make the investigation illegitimate, but it absolutely explains the strategy. Because, I mean, look at all the people who aren't being subpoenaed. Anyway, all right. Now let me answer some of the questions that I keep seeing. Would any of this be public? Depositions are not televised, closed door, controlled entirely by the committee. The committee gets to decide if the transcripts are ever released, when they're released, and whether excerpts are cherry-picked or not. You see why the Clintons are like, no, we're not loading your weapon, okay? The point is you may never see the full context. Written responses, which is what the Clintons are offering, on the other hand, are easier to publish in full, harder to manipulate, which is exactly why Congress doesn't want them. All right, and let's round this video out by talking this whole contempt of Congress thing, okay? Basically, the congressional committee saying like, hey, if you don't do it the way we want you to do it, then we're going to slap you with contempt charges, okay? We can prosecute you criminally, but they won't. So what would happen? The committee would vote for contempt. The House votes contempt. It gets referred to the DOJ, who we know is run by a knucklehead. And then the DOJ decides whether or not to prosecute. Do we think that they'll yeah, of course they will, because again, run by a knucklehead. But historically, these things are never prosecuted. It's just political grandstanding, all right? But I mean, that was when we had competent people that ran the department. So who knows? So why are they threatening it? Obviously because it creates headlines, okay? The little magtards are sitting there just drooling like, oh, they're gonna get them. My God, these people are so simple. Anyway, it applies pressure, it forces negotiation, and it allows Congress to claim obstruction. It's a pressure tactic, guys, not a guaranteed legal outcome. So what's likely to happen? A negotiated compromise. I mean, you might have a contempt vote followed by DOJ inaction or testimony under strict controlled conditions. We'll see. What is not going to happen here is jail time, criminal charges, or some dramatic Epstein confession. Not going to happen. So the story is not the Clintons are being exposed, and it's certainly not Congress is uncovering the truth. It's congressional grandstanding so that they can hang Democrats out to dry on the run-up to the midterms, okay? So that's what's happening. All right, and again, if they're guilty, hang them out to dry, but I'm just telling you guys what's happening behind the scenes. Share this with a friend.
If we could get the average American to start working a year earlier, right out of high school, or work a year later, not retire, it would generate about $3 trillion. $3 trillion to the U.S. economy.
This is why we say that it isn't left versus right, it's up versus down. Just listen to who they are expecting even more sacrifices from. Not the wealthy elite with more money than they could ever spend in a lifetime. Of course not. They're too busy giving those even more handouts. It's the rest of us, including the nearly 75% of Americans who already expect that we will have to keep working well past 65, that they expect even more sacrifices from. And according to the AARP, more than half of women currently between the ages of 65 to 74, along with more than a third of men that age, are already still actively in the workforce right now. But all of that sacrifice that working class Americans are making every single day of our lives still isn't enough for the leeches at the top. They're watching us work ourselves to and then just still demanding that we do even more. It is sick. And they claim that it'll be worth it because all that additional sacrifice would add roughly $3 trillion to our economy over the course of our lifetime, including roughly $435 billion of which would be tax revenue for our country to use. But what they aren't telling you is that there is a way better plan that has been introduced over and over again, which wouldn't require working class Americans to sacrifice anything. In fact, it wouldn't require noticeable sacrifice from anyone at all, regardless of their income, and it would raise trillions of dollars more than Dr. Oz's stupid ass plan. I'm referring to the ultra-millionaire tax that has been proposed repeatedly by Elizabeth Warren, which would pull in $3 trillion in tax revenue every 10 years. That's $350 billion in tax revenue every single year, y'all, without anyone ever having to forfeit any of their retirement or any time with their families. The tax would only apply to households with a net worth of over $50 million, and it would only kick in for money above that $50 million threshold. After that $50 million that gets left untouched, a 2% tax would kick in, meaning they would be taxed 2 pennies for every dollar beyond the untouched $50 million. And then for the mega richies, the people who are literal billionaires, an additional 4% tax would kick in, but only for the money beyond their first $1 billion. We're talking about people richer than God, folks. People for whom this tax would have less impact on their lives than buying a Happy Meal would have on yours. And it would make our country an additional $350 billion every year. And I want you to really sit with that, folks. Really think about the gravity of what I just said. They are willing to demand you forfeit the retirement you busted your ass to earn, but they aren't willing to demand that literal billionaires hand over a few pennies. The people in the White House would rather you work yourself into an early grave and never get to experience the fruits of your own labor, just so the richest 750 men in our country don't have to contribute what amounts to spare change for them.